This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the second round of the iRacing Grand Touring Cup. This series is the series that we'll have here featured on Racebot TV Friday primetime over the next 12 weeks or so. We've already had the first round under our belts, and now it's time to go night racing here at the Nurburgring. I am Connery Maddock, and on the commentary as well will be Will Vincent. Will, it's pitch black out there, and that's going to cause a couple of problems, I suppose. Yeah, absolutely. And, well, we've just ticked over into the race session right now, so we can show you the starting grid for today's race. It will be on pole position in your fastest class here today. That will be your Ford Mustang class. That's David Haynes, pole position there. Yelko Suarez in P2 with Gareth Jones in P3. That's going to be a 3-car class there for your fastest class here today. In the Jettas, it will be Roger Clark taking pole position from Consta Nikari in P2. P3 will go to Nicholas Short, with P4 going down to John Roberts. And then you look at your slightly more healthy Solstice class. That's Christoph Boris there in pole position for that one, with Marvin Kapoka in P2, Mike Weiskospiker there in P3, Daniel Fernandez in P4, with Peter Huska in P5. P6 will go to Justas Milusukas there, and then further down the field you've got Frederick Damaros and SSP Ledger there, bringing things down to round out your 15-car grid here today across all three classes. We're already off and away here for the pace lap, and just a couple of moments from getting this one started. Well,
Small field, Connery. A lot of these drivers don't seem to want to take on the challenge of the Nurburgring. So we only got 15 drivers here today, but it's a track of survival here.
yeah, it is. It's going to be very much a race of attrition here in this one, not just because it is very, very dark out there and you have relatively limited visibility. Thankfully, iRacing in a recent patch have increase the effectiveness of the headlights here on iRacing, so it's not going to be as much of a problem as it was previously, but still, it is a very, very, very challenging track indeed, the Nurburgring, and of course, in a Class D rookie series or whatever you want to call it, this is going to be a potentially tricky one for many of the drivers throughout the field. But the thing is, his car down on towards pit lane. David Haynes, pole position there in your Mustangs. He'll round himself around the final corner, and we'll get ourselves started here. 3 laps around the Nürburgring. Nordschleife gets itself underway. Now your Mustangs immediately line astern, the 3 of them down in towards turn 1. The Jettas heading their way through there as well. But the Solstices looks like it's going to be where it's at right now. It was a good start for Kapufka there. He got himself, he got himself the position defended. He immediately went on the offensive up on towards the number 9 car, but the number 9 has started very, very well here. He got himself from P3 up all the way up into P1 here on the green flag.
Yeah, he has, and of course, the thing about the Nordschleife for Connery is that this is a track which is 20 kilometers in length, so it is a long lap around here, but they've actually only worked themselves through the first kilometer and a half or so. Actually, this is probably the slowest part of the racetrack, but Kapofa actually gets a good run, and he's going to put himself alongside, and this is going to be his slowest battle for the race lead, and Kapofa has got himself up to P1.
Yeah, does that move right before Flugplatz, able to get into this right-hander relatively okay as well. So Karpovka getting himself up into the race lead over Wieskopseiker there, which I believe is the German pronunciation of that name. Still fairly good running for him so far, coming through this first lap, just giving a little bit of update on the race lead. It is the Hugh Jess driver of David Haynes there leading the way from Jelko Saric, from Gareth Jones, but they're looking to spread themselves out in relatively quick fashion here in your fastest class of the day. So most of the battling we suspect will go on down in your slowest class here today, the Solstices, and well, they've gotten themselves a bit of a reputation here on iRacing because of how slow they are, but just because they're slow, it doesn't mean they can't give some fantastic racing.
No, they can, and we go on board with third place in that class right now. Second place, actually, in that class, that is the number 9 machine, and he just about clips the white line in the grass as he heads himself then into one of the left-handers, and this is where the track does start getting slower again. It's worth noting that all drivers have managed to survive the first about 3 kilometers of this race right now, and the number 9 car that we're on board with just staying within about half a second, shall we say, of Kaposka in the number 8 car as they work themselves through the double apex left-hander. You're right though, Connery, this is a case of the Pontiac Solstice. We call it a Slowstice to Jake, take the mickey out of it a little bit, but it's a car that over time has become a bit of a fan icon here on iRacing. That these drivers, they like to have a little bit of fun around this track, and they like to have a little bit of fun in this car, but you know, for the time being, it's just good seeing them all carrying on.
Yep, absolutely no major instance so far in this one. All 15 drivers still out there, still running, trying to get this first lap complete. Karpovka, though, looking to come under threat here for the race lead. It's Wieskopseiker looking for the move down towards the bottom of the valley here, so coming up down towards the lowest point on this racetrack before you climb back up the hill again through the second half of the lap. And Wieskopseiker, you know, he definitely seems to have the pace here, but he hasn't had quite the opportunity over Karpovka yet to try and get himself back through. But he can just sit in the slipstream for now, let the car ahead just pull him around this very, very long racing circuit indeed. And he still has plenty of time to try and make this move complete.
Yeah, he has. And actually, I'm just having a look back down in your Pontiac field as well. We've got battle going on for P5, separated by about half a second right now. That is, I will say one thing here today. I don't know what it is, Connery, but we've had all the most unpronounceable names in the history of iRacing all coming to us in a 15-car field here today, especially in that Pontiac Solstice field. So we're struggling a little bit. The good thing is, though, we do have David Haynes leading the way in your Ford Mustang field. Of course, David Haynes, commentator here on RaceWhat TV, heading himself down into the carousel for the first time.
Yeah, doing very, very well at this early stage to try and extend the gap at the front of the field. Battle for the race lead, though, down in your Solstice field. They've just had a little bit of a swap and a bit of an incident as well, because that's Karpovka now around and in a very narrow portion of the racing circuit as well. He has to wait and let the rest of the Solstice field by, and he spins right in front of them, and that's Mini Sukarasol goes straight into it. And, well, I called it.
Yeah, you did perfectly there, Connery. And the thing is, now Karpovka is going to have that car pretty much done for the rest of this race. Here's the replay. We're on board then, just after the carousel, making contact with the number 9 car, and I think this is actually the best place to look at this is from our overhead camera brought to you by And1 Design here, as it's always really hard on a night racetrack to understand what's going on, but you can just see that it's just, you never want to make a move like that, coming back onto the racing line when you've got yourself other cars coming up behind you. And Koprovka right now, I mean, his race is done, but more importantly than that, that was a big incident.
Yeah, Milisauskas out in the number 12 as well. He's the one that got caught up in the aftermath of that one. Nowhere for him to go, really, once that car comes back onto the racing line. It's such a shame, but sometimes that's the way racing goes, through no fault of your own, and very much the fault of the driver that rejoins on the racing line there. Especially in the dark here, you have to be so careful about rejoining the track. But looking at your Jetta field right now, battle for P2 on here, which is Nicholas Short versus John M. Roberts. And now John Roberts looking to make a move here at the latter end of the lap here. He did have a bit of an opportunity, now chasing down a little bit of a crest here into the compression through the right as well. We've got Constant Ikari right on the back of this one as well. So the Jet is deciding to duel it out here late on in this lap, and John Roberts looking for the inside, coming up towards, this is the section with the mini carousel here as you go up the hill through the left, and we're going to hit that mini carousel right about now. They'll get themselves into it. Slight bit of camber here to help you out, and it helps John Roberts out a lot. He gets the run off the corner, looks at the run on the outside into the grass a bit, but he manages to hold it. Now inside the line for the right, but he's going to lose out position here because that's Nikari heading his way through.
Yeah, and you've got yourself second, third, and fourth place all in a pack as they're going to head themselves onto the Dottinger Hoe right now. So this is a chance for all these drivers to start thinking about the draft. And of course, we've seen so much fun here over the years, Connery, with the draft in things like VLN. But now we've got a battle for second place going on. Consta on the right-hand side of the track. All we can see is flashlights, but they're going to go side by side to head themselves down the Dottinger Hoe.
Yeah, absolutely. Constant Ikari, well, he's going to have the outside line for the little kink, the little left-hand kink down the hill here, so Nicholas Short can gain some ground on that inside line, able to pull a half a car length, but still not clear as Nikari sticks it in up towards the end of the lap now. He's going to have to back out. A bit of bumper banging in the back of that trio, though, as John Roberts tries to make a bit of an impact in this one, but the position's already lost just a couple of moments ago. He'll be filed all the way back into what is going to be fourth place here in this field. And don't forget, fourth place is actually last here in this Jetta field. So the race leader of Roger Clark has just said goodbye to the rest of the field, and it's everyone else scrapping for pieces behind.
Yeah, Clark's got himself a 5-second advantage over that first of 3 laps here at the Nurburgring Nordschleife over Nicholas Short. Short himself, though, he's been able to gain a little bit out through Sector 1 here at the Nordschleife over Constant Ikari, getting himself about 7/10 of a second advantage, and then between Ikari and Robert, it's currently again about 3/4 of a second as well. We haven't really talked much about your not VWS, sorry, even it's your field in your Ford Mustang, and David Haynes, he has got himself now a 4-second advantage over Gareth Jones. So it looks like David Haynes is pulling out a nice little lead out front in your overall battles.
Yeah, doing expert work there at the front of the field. The highest iRacing driver in this entire field at about 4,072 if he ends up winning this race outright. So solidifying his position in the 4K mark here in terms of iRacing. But still battle going over P2 here in the Jetta field. Nikari just using that slipstream to its full effect on the way down towards Arenberg. Short pushed wide a little bit through the left-hand kink, but he's able to return back to the racing line for that very long downhill right-hander of Arenberg. And off the corner they will go. John Roberts has actually started to lose touch of these two here, right at the back of the shot. So unless he's able to put in a good rest of the lap here, then it might just be a 2-horse race for P2.
Yeah, it might be as well. And just keeping an eye out also what's going on across your three classes. And in terms of your race lead in your Pontiac Solstice class, we still have got a battle going on for your race lead. And we're stopping it right now in the number 9 car, putting the pressure on the number 11 car of Peter Huska as they head themselves down towards the middle section of the racetrack. And actually, here comes the move there, Connery, for the race lead.
Oh, here we go, side by side here for the Solstice race lead. Vyskop Psyche on driver's right-hand side against Peter Huska, driver's left-hand side as they battle all the way down the hill, coming down towards Ardenauer, and Huska's not going to back out of this one. Same for Vyskop Psyche as well, but Vyskop Psyche decides better of it. It gets very tight here, coming up towards this very sequence of corners, not really suited to side-by-side racing. A bit of a mistake as the track slows down there for Peter Huska, but still able to maintain that Solstice race lead. But Vyskop Psyche now still using that slipstream. It's just a 2-horse race here for the race lead of your Pontiac Solstice class for the moment. And for the moment, it does seem like things have calmed down just a little bit. We have had a car in your Solstice class that has taken the tow back to pit lane. That's the number 14 of Christoph Boris here, which is going to be a big problem. They were down in the mid-pack in your Solstice field. It looks like it's a single car incident and just drifted it in towards the Armco barrier.
Yeah, one of those things when you're driving at night, sometimes you just lose a little bit. Actually, it seems to me he gets a drift going on and just doesn't fix it in time. Car hits the guardrail here at the Nurburgring Nordschleife. That would normally cost you 20,000 euros plus the time it takes for the track to be closed. But Boys is out, as you say. One of the things, of course, about this season that is so interesting, Connery, is that we're going to go from by far the longest track of the season to next week going to New Hampshire Motor Speedway to probably the shortest racetrack of the season.
Yeah, and it's one of the roval courses that I actually like, because some of the roval courses that you have here on iRacing are a little bit uninspired, but the New Hampshire one certainly is a little bit more interesting with the elevation changes in the middle of the lap. It's quite a fun track to actually drive, and it's suited to these sorts of cars as well, which aren't the most powerful of things. So I'm very much looking forward to next week. But yeah, it's basically the complete opposite of what we have here at the Nordschleife, where we have the very long runs down between corners, very long straights, very high-speed corners as well. It's basically a slipstream show here, but once we get to next week, that is going to be not a issue.
Yep, I know where we are on the track because we're currently at the carousel on board in the Kari, and he's got John Roberts about a third of a second ahead of him right now. But New Hampshire Motor Speedway, I always think that's one of the best roval tracks, and also going outside of the oval rather than being constrained inside of it as well. Nakari putting that pressure on Roberts for third place in your VW Jetta class. Is a lot of curb being taken by Roberts in that number 5 car, running third place in class, but Constant Akari then having to stay behind. But that's actually one of the big things about the Nordschleife, is that it's such a narrow track. Of course, it wasn't designed for the kind of cars we have today, Connery. What that does mean is that if a driver ahead of you makes a mistake, it's sometimes very hard to capitalize on it.
Yeah, very difficult indeed. You just have to stack up behind them whenever anyone ahead of you makes a mistake at most portions of this racetrack. And if you do commit to a move when someone's in trouble, then with how narrow this track is, it's very easy for you to get crowded off the circuit. But Nakari now all over the back of John Roberts as we head towards the final about quarter of the lap here at Nordschleife. Nakari again seems to have the pace through most of these corners, but John Roberts has been able to hold on, and with these two battling, it has allowed Nicholas Short to get away from these guys a couple of seconds ahead, and Roberts, again very tricky, he keeps on taking so much of the curbs here that it's actually putting a detriment onto his race right now. And Nakari still trying to find a way through, still moves unavailable for him, but he might just be waiting until that very long dong, or right about now actually, as he looks towards the inside of the right-hand kink, coming up towards the Kleiner Carousel. But John Roberts still holding strong here despite him making mincemeat out of every single curb.
Yeah, for those people wondering, by the way, what we do every season, we pick a track that you, the iRacing community, vote on. And this is gonna, I have to say, Connery, in the 3+ years that we've done Friday Night Prime Time, this has been probably the most interesting of choices that we've had in terms of the iRacing Grand Touring Cup. As the drivers come into the Dotting Ho once again, this will give now Constant Akuri the opportunity to use that draft, get right behind Roberts as they head themselves then up to the fast they'll do all day long. I say fastest, they're only doing about 130 miles an hour as they work themselves down the Dotting Ho. And the car is going to head himself to the right hand side. The kinks are coming up in a moment. Nikari will put himself alongside, but I don't think he's going to have much momentum in order to... Yeah, he's not going to make that pass.
Yeah, it looks like he's struggling as he heads his way through that little left-hand kink towards the end of the lap. So Nikari's still stuck behind John Roberts as we head towards the final lap of the event here today. Nikari, he has his work cut out here if he wants to get himself further up in terms of, well, getting himself up onto that podium for a start and not finishing last here in the VW Jetta class. This is the closest battle that we have out there on circuit. They will take the white flag across the line here and into turn 1. Nikari has to think about how he wants to make this move complete.
Yeah, and we asked some people wondering, why are we in this split compared to another? Well, the simplest thing is, Connery, is that this track takes about a year to load. And at the point that we actually tried to find the session, there was only one split up. There is a second split, but this is the split that we were almost forced into. But one thing I will say, David Haynes out front is being able to maintain that gap right now over Gareth Jones. It's 4.1 seconds. Yeah, it might only be a 3-car field right now, but David Haynes has got the forcing an advantage over Gareth Jones.
Yeah, he does. So looking fairly comfortable there for the Australian at the front of the field here today. Hasn't really been troubled from behind at all. He's just been able to set his own pace at the front of the field, just manage the gap all the way back to second place and take this as more of a time attack sort of session here, just the driver against the track, and he's been doing very, very well for it. And on this final lap, doesn't look like he's going to have too many huge dramas, but what potentially might cause a bit of drama, John Roberts and Constant Nikari. That is the big battle here for the final podium position in your Jetta field. Nikari could pose for a move here in towards Arenberg, but deciding not to go for it, instead forces a mistake there from John Roberts. He has to push out really wide coming through that right-hander, and Nikari now might just have a chance as they head their way down towards Ardenauer now, but it's still a very, very tricky predicament that Nikari has gotten himself into. He needs to be aggressive here, but if he does risk himself an incident with how narrow the track is.
Yeah, and Roberts is just ahead of us. They work themselves down past kilometre number 9 on track, and you can see them just all weaving through the mountains, and Nikari just can't find a way through as they get themselves actually past kilometre number 7 on this final lap here. I was thinking, you're talking about issues that can happen in the final lap, Connie. Of course, the one thing we're not going to get here is lap traffic, and I think this is going to be the only time all season we can guarantee there's not going to be lap traffic in play.
Yeah, that one is for sure. The next bit of next car down the road is sort of coming on towards the Dotting Hill right now, whereas these guys are sort of getting towards halfway through the lap, so that's not going to be a problem 3 laps into this race. And again, as we've already mentioned, this battle between John Roberts and Constant Nikari is the closest battle for position that you have out there on circuit. It seems like the Solstices, for the lack of a better term, have slowed down in terms of the battles that they had. So of course, they were the main feature in the first lap or so of this event, but with a couple of incidents happening down in that class, it has meant that everyone there in your biggest class here today has sort of spread themselves out just a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on it in case something happens before the end of this race. It's a 2.5 second gap between P1 and P2 in that particular class, so still potential for something to happen here, but for now, all eyes on that final podium position in Jetta.
Yeah, just keeping an eye on that number 9 car. He was last time around 2 seconds slower than Peter Hersker, but that is over an 8-minute 40-something lap time. So a lot can happen over this final lap. And the thing about the Nordschleife is, Connor, you really do have to split it down into actually about 5 different racetracks. I remember actually learning this track, and for me, it was always a case of, I was really good for the first 2 kilometers because that's the first kilometers after I get out of pit road. But then after that, you've got to learn it sequence by sequence. And that's the thing that really gets a lot of drivers at this racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, most people have a pretty good idea of how the first sort of half of the lap goes, but when it comes to that back end of the lap, I even still get confused to this day, and I've been racing the Nurburgring on many titles for a while.
As soon as you get past the carousel, basically.
Yeah, that's the point where, wait, which direction does the track go in again? It's but yeah, there are people on the iRacing service, at least, that do spend most, if not all, of their time in sim racing just this track and this track alone, just trying to hot lap it. And you know, there's a lot of variety in this track, so I can definitely see the attraction in doing that. And and this particular battle in Jettas might just be particularly attractive come the end of this race. They're into the carousel then. John Roberts still not safe from Constant Nikari. Nikari bringing it all the way back to the back bumper of Roberts, but still nowhere that Nikari can sling one down the inside, outside, anywhere. And it has to be a forceful move now coming up through the last third of this lap if he wants to get himself by. He has to run all the way up the hill here towards Ho Acht there. As actually that's a little bit, couple of corners previous, but you can forgive me, there are over 100 turns on this racetrack, so there we go. It's impossible to remember every single one of them, but Constant Nikari, at this point, his options are limited.
Just to let you know, Frederick Dom Rose pulled on towards pit road about a minute ago. We tried to figure out what happened to him. He's just going very slowly. I think he had a solo car incident hitting one of the guardrails, but Constant Nikari has been putting that pressure on Roberts. Roberts did go wide a couple of minutes ago himself, and that allowed Nikari the opportunity to close it back down, but Nikari has been very good at keeping within half a second of John Roberts, but not able to actually find an avenue to get past.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation to be in. We'll see how it plays out for the end of the race. Meanwhile, in your Ford Mustang class, well, the leaders are currently heading their way down the Dottingerhoe for the final time here, and David Haynes is going to be the leader of that particular class. Gareth Jones, well, he's about 7.5 seconds behind your Australian race leader right now. So for David Haynes, it's been a fairly comfortable race, fairly comfortable hot lapping session, just managing the gaps to all the drivers behind, and now he has a couple more corners to go, and then he can say that he won a race here on Race Sport TV Friday primetime. Through the last couple of corners, through the final corner, David Haynes will win here in the Ford Mustangs for Race Sport TV Friday primetime round 2 here of this series. And now Roger Clark, well, he's heading his way onto the Dottingerhoe, so it's a bit of time before he comes across the line. We still got the battle between Roberts and Nikari, and actually Nicholas Short has been pulled back into this one, so we might have a 3-car sort of battle here for the finish if the slipstream can be worked.
Yep, so the huge ass machine there with a big victory, a huge victory, shall we say, in Friday night primetime. We're back on board with Constant Nikari. As we say, it's potentially a 3-horse battle then for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in your Volkswagen Jetta field, heading themselves towards a kink. But Nikari, I think, is going to be under the same situation. He's been all race long not finding the avenue. Actually, no, he has got the inside line to head themselves down in towards the kink. So Nikari, all of a sudden, going to be bold. But of course here, Connie, you have the inside line into the kink. That gives you the outside line into the final corner.
And short is not safe here for P2 either. It's all three nose to tail coming through the final couple of corners here. John Roberts still holding on, and he might even gain a place here if he shoots to the inside. Coming through the final corners, penultimate corner, final corner. Short will hold on for P2. Roberts will hold on to a podium finish here. And that is Nikari being very hard done by that. He will finish last, but I don't think it was a deserved last by any means. Roger Clark wins the class outright in your VW Jettas. We're still waiting for the Solstices to come across the line, but you got to feel bad there for Nikari.
Yeah, and also, I'm trying to work this one out, Connery, because we've had a change for second place, and I'm wondering whether or not Mike has actually had himself some form of an issue. But yeah, he's got damage to that car. He's lost second place, and you can see there's a lot of damage to the front right of that car, and he's lost second place to Daniel Fernandez.
And now he's going to be losing yet more places. There's the 15 car of Ledger behind that might just work her way through now. And Viskopsike struggling towards the latter end of this race. There goes Ledger inside line. Viskopsike will try and defend this one. There's contact between the two of them. That's Viskopsike around, involved with Ledger. Ledger will be able to continue on, but Viskopsike, his engine's smoking now. It's going to mean that he's going to struggle even further now for the end of this race. But I want to see where that initial incident that was that put him in this situation.
Well, we found it again. The issue with it being pitch black, Connery, is that it's very hard to get a good camera angle on it, but we have found it. We're going to see if we can get one more look from our aerial coverage. It's just so hard to get a good angle at it because, of course, the Nordschleife, when it is pitch black like this, you have virtually zero light outside of the normal part of the Nurburgring, which of course they use today. But he has fallen down into fourth place, and that car does not look healthy at all.
Yeah, Peter Huschka will win in the Solstice class here today, your biggest class, but it seems like the class with the biggest dramas, as well as the Viskopsike still trying to struggle his way down the Dottinger. I think he will be able to secure at least P11 here. I think Karopka is a bit too far back to even pass him, even with the damage. So he will be able to scrap together something in this race, not lose as much R rating as he otherwise would have in this event. But it's still very sad to see the race end like that. And well, that is going to be it here for this round of what is going to be the Grand Touring Cup here on iRacing for Racesport TV Friday prime time. Here are your official race results. David Haynes will win in your Ford Mustang class by 7.884 seconds right at the end. Gareth Jones in P2 with Yoko Suarez in P3. Roger Clark will win in your Jetta class with Nicholas Short P2, John Roberts P3, and Constant Nikari P4. Fantastic battling in that VW class, but John Roberts able to hold on for P3. And then you look back to your Pontiac Solstice class. Peter Huschka wins that one from Daniel Fernandez from SP Ledger. Mike Viskopsike struggling at the end of the event with a single car incident, be able to come home P11 here when all is said and done. Frederick Domeros in P12. Marvin Kapovka, well, he was a threat early on in the race, but an instant pulling him all the way down into P13. Christoph Boyce and Justus Milisakuras will be not finishing this event, P14 and P15. Well, we do have one driver that's getting himself ready for an interview, and that will be the driver of David Haynes. So, fellow Racesport TV broadcaster meets another one. Will, you've got this one.
Yep, so David, congratulations on your overall victory here today in the iRacing Grand Touring Cup. Bit dark out there, but how are you able to survive 3 laps of the Nordschleife?
It's a track I really like, a track I know really well, and I've run plenty of practice in this combination, and it's great to do a little time trial like this.
So only 3 people in your class, but you were able to get yourself the victory by 7 seconds over Gareth Jones. So for Team Huge Ass, of course, it's been a big month of endurance racing for you. How was the victory here, comparing to other things that you've done recently?
In the grand scheme of things, I don't feel like this is the crowning glory, but certainly it's always nice to have a clean race in the dark at the Nordschleife, and to come away with the win is good. And my final lap was really quick. I just wish I'd strung 3 together like that.
But you've got quite a lot of people within your team taking part in this iRacing Grand Touring Cup. What is it about this series that appeals to you and your team?
All of the cars are old and bad, and that's representative of probably what we all drive anyway.
So basically telling me that all it is the fact that you can afford the cars compared to the highest spec machines.
Oh, well, some of the guys are a fan of the Solstice. Personally, I really actually do like how this Mustang FR500S drives. It's got the right amount of grip to the power it's got. It's not, underpowered, and it's not over gripped. It's just fun to drive.
Next time out, of course, we head ourselves away from Europe to North America, to the North Hampshire Motor Speedway, and it will be the northern oval section of that racetrack that we're going to be using. What's your thoughts heading into round 3 of the championship?
I'm glad you know the schedule, because I'm just trusting my team to book my tickets and travel. I didn't know, and maybe I'll make it there.
I did call it North Hampshire instead of New Hampshire Motor Speedway, so I have messed up already, but yeah.
Yeah, which half of Silverstone is in Northamptonshire?
I don't know.
Okay,
all
because
the Silverstone's in Northamptonshire.
You...
All the Silverstone's in Northamptonshire. It's Donington Park, which is half in Derbyshire, half in Leicestershire.
Isn't half of Silverstone in Buckinghamshire? I don't know my geography at all. Never been there, and now's a great time to argue with you about it.
No, as far as I'm aware, it's all in Northamptonshire. That's only because no one cares about Buckinghamshire at the best of times. But David, before we let you go, shout out sponsors who gets it done for you.
Yeah, shout out to all my guys, Huge Ass, Dick Insider, and check us out, youtube.com/hugeass, because we are racing at Indianapolis in a couple of weeks' time for the Champ Car Endurance Series. Gonna have a live in-car broadcast of that, and we would love to have your company for that.
Well, thank you very much there, David Haynes, your overall race victor. And Conway, I think I'm right, all of Silverstone is in Northamptonshire.
I believe so. I'm just going to have to double check this one at some point. Maybe after the broadcast and leave the viewers hanging.
But we do know that Donington's in 2 counties.
Yeah, well, I used to live relatively near Donington,
yeah.
So that's going to be one very local to me. But yeah, fairly interesting race here today, and it's one that's kind of unorthodox here, Will, with the darkness at the Nurburgring as well, and in a series that with cars that we don't usually get to see. A bit of an outlier in terms of the season here today. We will be going to New Hampshire Motor Speedway next week, and any expectations for that one?
It's going to be a great race. I love that layout at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, actually. So it's going to be a 25-minute race, Conway, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I am as well. So join us same time next week for round 3 of the iRacing Grand Touring Cup here on RaceSport TV Friday prime time. We're going stateside. We're going to North Hampshire Motor Speedway Road with the North Oval.
We both got it wrong. You called it North Hampshire Motor Speedway as well.
The road with the North Oval,
yes.
Though. There we go. But join us then. Same time, same place, next week. Bye-bye.